One of the best performing presidents of our republic was Mwai Kibaki. Mwai Kibaki served in the Kenyatta government. Mwai Kibaki served in the Moi government. He was one of the best finance ministers. He was vice president. But when Kenyans gave him an opportunity to serve as president, I think his 10 years were the most transformative. When you look, it's about a leader and the integrity of that leader and the vision for the country and the policies you bring. So to my last question, I want to say that the fact that Eugene served in the last two administration, does not mean he cannot make a great president or a transformative president given a chance. All you need to do is, yes, now public service, you have been here for the last 10 or 20 years, scrutinize his record in public service. And if you find Eugene Wamalwa to be a qualified leader to be president and a leader of integrity and a leader who can actually measure up to your expectations, then he is qualified to be that president. Don't expect angels to come from nowhere to transform this country, but let us just have leaders of integrity to do it. And it will depend on the policies that will, what changed this country during Kibaki's regime were policies. He brought about the free primary education policy. At first, it looked like an impossible thing. But later on, the whole world celebrated the free primary education policy by Kibaki, and later on the free secondary education and transition, 100% transition. Kenya is one of the few African countries that was able to achieve 100% transition from primary to secondary. It's because of the good policies Kibaki put in place, and that Uhuru carried on. And it was done, it was achieved in Uhuru's time, the 100% transition, but the foundation was laid by Mwai Kibaki. So what we are saying about the policies, it's not that we hate William Ruto, but we hate the corruption that he has entrenched in this country and the tribalism. When you look at what has happened in our public service, when you look at the policies that are hurting every Kenyan, and it matters not whether you are Luya or Kalenjin or Kikuyu or Kisi, if a policy is bad, it's bad for all Kenyans. If the pay slip shrinks for teachers, it will not look at a teacher in Baringo or Ileo Marakwet or a teacher in Tuda in Mombasa. All teachers will be affected. Just like now, all policemen are affected. Because when that housing levy is forced on you, whether you are a doctor or a teacher or an MCA or an MP or a professor teaching somewhere, you suffer the same. So we are saying what we will need is really leaders who can make changes. And some of us were in the last administration that had put in place good policies. Linda Mama. This new government comes in and removes Linda Mama. There was Kazi Mitani, where we're putting money in the pockets of young people in different parts of the country, 2 billion every month. The first thing they came and scrapped it. When it came to importation of oil, we wanted openness, transparency. We had the OTP system, open tender system, where anyone in the energy sector who wanted to import, it was open. But here, our friends come in and change to G2G. Few people fly to Dubai, seal a deal, and the deal runs up to December. Again, they extend it. So as we speak, even if crude oil prices drop globally, Kenya is locked into a deal that benefited a few people, and oil prices have not gone down. They come up with policies that double VAT on fuel. This is where the rain started beating us. Change of policy. VAT, once it moved from 8% to 16%, everything went bottom up. And all these policies we are saying, yes, we have leaders, we have young Gen Zs who are qualified to lead this country, and we can work together. We have seasoned politicians and leaders who have served in this past regime and past administration, who have the experience, Who can tell you these were the policies changed in the education sector, the new funding model, this is what was done in health, this SHA, NHIF was working, this is what could have been changed. There's expertise, institutional memories there that can change this kind from day one, where we can say, as we take over, and we are revising this SHA thing, first executive order is this housing levy thing must go. We are going to relook at this and do that and that. It's like hunting. When you go hunting, those of you, many of you, maybe Gen Z might not know how hunting was in the village. Those of us who grew up on the farm, when you go hunting, you don't go with one dog. There will be the old dog that has a big voice that would bark, and the antelope would break cover and run. Then there will be that scent, the dog that knows how to smell the scent. That's the most experienced dog of all and very important in following the animal. Then there was the youngest, the strongest, that runs faster than the old one, and the dog of that smells the scent. All of them are important in the hunt. It's what you will go hunt and bring home that matters on the family table. And all decisions, like Ronald Reagan said, greatest decisions, revolution start at the family table. How are we going to hunt? Who will play what role? We can work together and complement each other in terms of ensuring we succeed in the objective. And I agree with Tosi that it will not be easy to remove William Ruto. And we're not removing William Ruto because he's of that community or we hate him. It's because he is the one who has brought these changes that are hurting Kenyans. And he has said himself, the levels to which he wishes to raise taxation, he's not even halfway there. Meaning, as long as the cow is up on that tree, taxes will go up. What happened in October? What is going to happen the end of February when NSSF rates come in? What's going to happen in June after the Finance Bill 2025 passes will keep happening as long as he's there, because he has defied experts who came to bomb us, who told him, Mr. President, you've gotten it wrong. Higher taxes do not necessarily translate into higher revenues for government. There's only a level to which you can tax your citizens, and you have passed that level. In fact, you are violating the rights of all these employees, the dignity of the workers in Kenya, because you have gone beyond the level. And I listened to the FKE speakers saying the same thing. Many Kenyans are going into depression. They look at their payslips and they can't make ends meet. Yet, you see wastage in this government. Billions are being spent on State House. An old, beautiful architectural Victorian age colonial look house is transformed into a new State House. Billions are being spent there. When you're saying there isn't capitation money, when you're saying there isn't enough money to go to the counties, when you're saying you can't even pay lunch for your soldiers. Now, I've been Minister for Defense. To remove lunch for our soldiers is something that has never happened in our history. Where is the money going? The wastage, the corruption, and everything that has come with it is why we are saying William Ruto must go. So, my friend, it's not about just the system, it's about the leader. Everything stands and falls on leadership. And Professor Kibwana is a great example what good leadership can achieve for a county and a country. And this is why we're saying most of these things need to be changed. And we're saying we are not inviting Gen Zs. Professor, Gen Zs are ahead of us. We were there on the streets in 2023. We did our demos. We didn't achieve a quarter of what the Gen Zs achieved. We never even accessed the CBD. Gen Zs were better organized with better technology. They were able to get into CBD and into Parliament, and they could have gotten into State House if they didn't kill them as they did. And I can tell you today, they are the leaders of this movement. We can only come to complement, and they will be our partners, not passengers in this vehicle. So we want to assure you tonight that the coalition that we are putting together will be one that will put the Gen Z, the millennials, center and front of this movement, and they will be at the steering wheel. Watakuwa manahodha wa meli hii, sio abiria. That is one assurance we want to give. They can choose to form their own party. They come to the table. We know they have tried before. There's been frustration because the registrar said you can't form a party on the basis of age or region or religion because of constitutional requirements. But we do know that they can get aboard vehicles that they can bring them to the table, and we partner together, not for them to become passengers or invitees. So that, Prof, I want to assure you that is where we want to look at. And also the issue of integrity. As we come together as a coalition, we must be guided by values that we believe in. And also based on Article 10, the issue of integrity is very, very important. That cannot be compromised, because when you bring the wash leaders and you give them a country, we have seen what they can do. We have seen them share 16 billion through KNTC, go to Dubai, and they never brought anything back home. The edible oil scandal still runs. The oil scandal still runs, the G2G. And all these scandals, the fertilizer, fake fertilizer, this is what poor leadership turns into when we have the wrong leaders in these offices. So in terms of bringing, I think Mr. President raised the issue of the IEBC, the issue of Muli versus Muli. Yes, that was a serious issue in Azimio. But it was resolved through court. The court gave directions on who between the two Mulis should be, and the nominations were done, and Koki's name was forwarded. And as we speak now, Koki was has been sworn in, and already the panel has started its work. They have already advertised, so the ship has set sail. And let us wish them all the best. They're all Kenyans, so we hope they'll do what's right for our country, to pick men and women of integrity to be our commissioners. But we must remain alive to the fact that William Ruto will try day and night to rig this election, to manipulate the process and those who will be in those offices. But it's only eternal vigilance that will save us. We know that they've stolen a lot of money. Yes, money is going to be an issue. But I think a time comes when, like in 2002, in spite of Moi's money, when the country decided no amount of money could stop the will of the people, and no amount of force can stop the will of the people. I think that's one thing. All we need to do is get the right team together, the right coalition together, and say, for this, we must all sacrifice to save our country. I think we've reached that crisis level, and we are seeing also an attack on independent institutions. It's Barack Obama who said in Accra, Ghana, that what Africa needs are not strong men, but strong institutions. What we have here is a leader who admires strong men and who has become friends to strong men in Africa, and who is borrowing bad manners from some of these strong men to grow into one of the worst dictators we might have in our country. And he's undermining all independent institutions. He has captured parliament. He has an all-out assault, unprecedented assault on the judiciary, and Martha Koome is targeted. We know that she might not be perfect, but the institution of the judiciary and its independence must be protected at all costs. The other institution that is being targeted is the ORPP, and we know that the Israel political parties is actually facing some challenges. And that comes down to what I said. William Ruto is an existential threat to a multi-party democracy. If he can buy all parties, collapse all parties, he wouldn't mind setting the feet of this nation back to the one-party system where he was nurtured politically and as part of the YK92 group. But we are saying we will get a team together that will defend our multi-party democracy, defend our institutions, and particularly devolution. Devolution needs to be strengthened with the right leadership. This is a game changer. We've seen it in Makueni and other counties. Let us not let our guard down. Matters education, CBC, new university funding model. These are some of the areas as the new administration, as we come in, we will be open to change. And already what has most of the changes made so far, their policies have failed. And I heard the Minister for Education saying the other day they are going back by September to get a new funding model, and that should be open to discussion with proper public participation, whether CBC or the new funding model is working or not. These are policies that can be reversed. They're not cast in stone. What is not working for Kenya must be discarded, and we get a new model that will work for this country and for all of us. So let me not think there are a lot of questions, but because of time, I want to agree with those who are proposing, particularly the incoming governor of Mombasa. Josephine was talking about the issue of the recall of members of parliament. As soon as IBC is formed, this should be a number one priority. And we do not have to wait until 2027. Our constitution gives us the power. The power, the sovereign power of this nation lies in the people. They have only donated it. You can withdraw that power. The way Gachagua went home, William Ruto can go home before 2027. You're a member of parliament who have sold you out, who said yes to Finance Bill 2023, who said yes to Finance Bill 2024, that has made your life difficult. That MP, you have the powers to recall him. You don't have to humiliate until 2027. So I agree with those of you who are saying, let us work on getting the right team together, and we see how we can change this. Many factories are closing. Yes, Josephine. It's also because of the harsh taxes that have been brought by Zakayo. What we need is a new team that can create the conducive environment so that we don't end up losing many of these investors who are moving to other countries. It's because of the environment that is not conducive. The ease of doing business in Kenya, we used to, under Uhuru Kenyatta, because the right policy was put in, we had ranked the highest in Africa and actually amongst the top countries in the world in terms of ease of doing business. We're being attractive, attracting more foreign direct investment here. But with the environment that's there, the harsh taxes, this has been affected. And yes, we have lost a lot of investors, and we continue losing many of them as factories close. Today, I've seen the unemployment rate is at an all-time high. We know that they were talking of exporting Kenyans to do many jobs abroad, but they have failed to create employment opportunities back home. The national debt and all that, I think we had discussed this matter at Bomas. Those of you who followed the conversation at Bomas, we had said actually what we needed was now to have a serious national dialogue to address matters of the debt and the ongoing borrowing, to see how we can strengthen Parliament and the oversighting role so that no borrowing can be done without full authority of Parliament. So that needs to be strengthened. We also wanted to look at the issue of the ever-rising wage bill crisis. This is something that we had proposed at Bomas. We need that conference to also address the taxation regime, the heavy burden on the citizens, and the best way out of it. All this, as you know, Ruto was taking us for a ride. He was never serious about the national dialogue at Bomas. Nothing has come out of it. I do not regret that I did sign that report. Thank you.
Thank you, Eugene. I think thank you for your powerful submission and insightful contribution as the speaker as we come to a close of this session.